Today we are just yapping about utility engines. Yep, that's right. If you don't know what a utility engine is, well, basically you have your passenger engines, your goods engines, your mixed driver engines, and then there's everybody else. Everybody else being utility engines, they're just assigned to whatever. And with the monsoon of characters on SOTOR, you can imagine that a good chunk of them are likely just utility engines and only brought on occasion. In my AU, the Portiverse, there are actually a lot of characters that are utility engines, and I also have a handful of official ones that I've written on our roster, and I wanted to sit down and yap about them for a video. This will be a fairly chaotic video, so just strap in and make sure your helmet is lead lined. We are getting lobotomized today. The first utility engines we will discuss are Donald and Douglas. Northwestern Railways 9 and 10. We all know who these are. They're Caledonian 812s or 652s, whatever they are. Same as Railway Series. Things differ a little bit from the Railway Series in the preservation era. Donald was eventually fitted with a geyser ejector funnel, and he ended up keeping it. Both him and Douglas often alternate between Northwestern Blue and Northwestern Black whenever they both go in for overhauls. And their liveries have slight variations between the two. Normally Douglas will have a brass or gold dome and then a cream cab interior, and also red tender frames. But aside from that, they're basically the same as their official counterparts. Kinda hard to miss a Donald and Douglas, you know? The next engine we'll talk about is Neville. Neville is his exact real-life counterpart, number and all, and he was withdrawn from service in 1964. He was saved by an anonymous collector right after. This collector was saving a bunch of random engines and basically hoarding them in his backyard. When he died, his family sold the engines at auction, and the Northwestern Railway participated and won a few engines, including Neville. Neville was fully restored and repainted into Northwestern Railway Utility Black, and he is still around today. Merlin is an engine I am very excited to talk about. My AU Merlin is indeed the same engine that had the 3 funnels fitted during World War II, and he wore the name Sir Gilmere for most of his life, although he later took on the name of one of his brothers, which was Merlin. Merlin's triple funnels were removed after the war as the experiment didn't really work that well, and he went back to being a single stack. He was withdrawn from service in 1961 and was very close to being scrapped, and was later saved by the same collector that saved Neville. By the time Merlin was saved, he actually already had parts of him scrapped, including his tender, his funnel, and a couple other parts here and there. He was basically barely alive when he was saved. He was basically plucked in the collector's backyard and exposed to the elements until the Northwestern Railway won him in auction along with a bunch of other engines. During his wait in line for overhaul, he has to be fitted with a double chimney as a subtle nod to his days having triple funnels. And the workers figured there would be no harm done, so they went ahead with it. Merlin was fitted with a double chimney and also a newly built Drummond 8-wheel tender. And Merlin was also painted into Northwestern Utility Black with lined blue. It's still in service today. Ginty is one that I've already modeled alongside Donald and Douglas, and I've already covered her in a video as well, so I'll be brief here. She was built in the late 1920s, her number is still unknown, but she isn't any of the real-life preserved Ginties. She bounced around the UK before being signed to fill in for Thomas, and she witnessed the ultimate bag fumble before he left. She was withdrawn from service a few years after her time on SOTOR, and was eventually saved from scrap after a while by the Northwestern Railway. She was restored and painted into Northwestern Utility Black and became station pilot at Elsbridge, where she still pokes fun at Thomas for his big fumble. She's great, you gotta love Ginty. We also have her bestie Pug. Pug was one of the last of his class built, and bounced around the mainland, when he eventually met Ginty around the 1930s, and the two became friends. They actually both wound up on SOTOR together when the famous 8 engines went to London for an event, where he also witnessed Thomas's bag fumble from a distance, and he also laughed about it for days. Pug was withdrawn around the same time as Ginty, and was actually saved around the same time as well. Pug actually reunited with Ginty on SOTOR, and they both became utility engines and wore the same livery. Pug was assigned to be the station pilot at Crosby. It's a much smaller station, so the shunting duties are light, making Pug the perfect fit for the job. And he is still in service today. Some other utility engines of mine are also Hyman and Eunice, my OCs that are like my AU loaned engines, which I've actually made a full video on them, so I'll just skip over them for this video. So just know that they became utility engines in preservation era. They alternate between their grouping or 1920s liveries and utility black. The final engine I want to talk about is a brand new OC of mine. Her name is Prudence. Prudence is an LSWR 0298 class. Weirdest class name ever. She was ordered by the Soda Mainland Railway as one of their engines, and was ultimately just a light shunter, so she wasn't really seen that much. She was eventually sold off at some point to the Soda Paintworks and became the shunter for there. Prudence was sidelined when the Paintworks took on a new engine in the form of an ex-Wellsworth and Suttery engine. Eventually, Prudence was just left in the sheds full-time by the 1950s, and was only brought out on absolute emergencies. She was eventually found during the whole recovery of Eunice, where it turned out Eunice was the stationary boiler for the Paintworks, and on top of went over to purchase Eunice, he also came across Prudence, and so he bought her at the same time. Eunice was fully restored to be an engine used for light shunting, track maintenance, and construction, and Prudence is still in service today. So to recap, my utility engines are Donald, Douglas, Merlin, Ginty, Pug, Eunice, Hyman, Prudence,
then Gandalf the Grey and Gandalf the White and Monty Python and the Holy Grail's Black Knight and Benito Mussolini and the Blue Meanie and Cowboy Curtis and...
Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all same time next week.